Well, hello again. Today I'd like to share some thoughts about the contemplative spiritual discipline known as slowing down. I'd like to first begin reading from Cloud Devotion from page 247, which is the epilogue, where the writer says this: Friend of God, I pray that you will continue to grow with ordinary grace, learning to practice the presence of God out of an abiding friendship with God. As you abide with Jesus, he will abide with you within your soul, God's treasure chest. If you discover that these words written in this book have helped you come closer to God as a friend of God, then give thanks to God. When you give this book to another, encourage them to read slowly, allowing plenty of time for God's Spirit to work within their soul across the pages of an entire year. There may be some patches of fog along the way at the beginning or in the middle of the book, causing some confusion or disorientation. Encourage friends of God to press on slowly and not to jump around by reading a bit here and a bit there, but moving through the book day by day, month by month, as though walking across a cloudy landscape. Encourage friends of God to press on slowly. That's the theme of this particular podcast, and I hope it'll be an encouragement to you. This past weekend, Trina and I got away to spend 2 nights camping out with family over Memorial Day weekend. We were camping in a national forest. The forest was made up of western white pine trees, and there were 6 of us humans and 2 dogs, including our black lab, a female puppy named Raven. And there was also a beautiful white retriever named Willow, who is 9 months old. We were practicing social distancing in our campsite, and our campsite was quite spread out in a beautiful flat forested area with a campfire in the middle. And we are also trying out what the National Forest calls dispersed camping, where with official campsites closed, the National Forest Ranger Service allows campers to go camp out anywhere out in a forested area as long as you practice a certain leave no trace approach to camping. We were on the south shore of Diamond Lake, camping near the Mount Bailey trailhead. Beautiful place. We were getting away to slow down, heading out into nature for a different sense of time, a different rhythm. I left my laptop home. There was cell service in the camp, but on Friday night I got so caught up in doing nothing that I found myself just turning my phone off and put it away. You know, it was interesting. As I got in the car on Sunday noon, I panicked for a brief moment, thinking, where's my phone? I must have left it somewhere, realizing I'd tucked it away in my backpack and it was still there turned off, and I hadn't really missed it for the past almost 48 hours, forgotten about it for the first time in several months. This Memorial Day weekend brought us together with our son and daughter-in-law, along with 2 other friends, and we gathered there on the South Shore. Well, it's just about a half a mile up from the South Shore picnic area of Diamond Lake near the Mount Bailey trailhead. And when we got out, first there at the edge of the lake, we were greeted by brisk winter weather. The snow was falling on our head, and I was expecting sun and fairly warm, but it was freezing cold. And then there was this huge swarm of flies all around us. There were newly hatched lake flies, and I thought, oh, this is going to be really interesting. But we decided to camp up the hill in the forest where there was no lake flies and only a few mosquitoes. There was plenty of firewood and quiet, the beauty of quiet, and we could just rest there. We set up camp, put our camp chairs and some stools, gathered in a circle around a campfire, and just settled ourselves into catching up on doing nothing. You know, I love the Spanish proverb that says, do nothing and rest afterwards. In 2005, I began writing a Cannon Beach blog, which is my weekly pastor's blog, and you can go on to waterpaths.org and find a weekly updated message there. I give in a written form with beautiful photos that are done by our son Thomas. And if you go on to waterpaths.org, there is a blog tab. Click on that and it'll open up, and then there's 3 different blogs there. Go into Cannon Beach log, and the most recent entry is this one on the ancient contemplative spiritual discipline of slowing down. Uh, we are so wired and trained, we are programmed for doing, 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 that non doing, it kind of feels funny, like awkward and almost like it's not allowed. It's as though I'm breaking an unwritten, mutually agreed upon code, and I'm going to be looked down upon by decent, hardworking society if I take a nap or if I just go more slowly. I may be cited and fined for even wasting my life. That kind of thing. Do you ever get that feeling like, ah, I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing? I need to get going and doing more. We forget that we are first human beings, not human doings. And so we're wise to learn to slow down. And I like the phrase waste time with God, although time with God is never wasted, but sometimes it feels that way. Learning to slow down is found over and over in the Bible, such as the repeated phrase describing the heart of God as gracious, compassionate, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love. We are invited to enter into God's rest, into God's time for our life, not to allow worry or anxiety to dominate our souls, but to find our rest and trust and the marking of our time in God's presence. Too often we allow, these things to mark who we are, to define us, a wristwatch or a clock on a digital device to say that's who I am. I have 3 seconds or 3 more minutes until the next thing I've got to do. And we have these long lists of doings, and it can wear us out. I love the writing of Adele Alberg Calhoun in her book, Wise Book, Spiritual Disciplines Handbook, where she asks a series of reflection questions related to this contemplative spiritual discipline of slowing. Here's 6 questions that I'd like to ask you. She asks, and I'm going to ask you, are you addicted to hurry, rush, and adrenaline? How do you feel about being stuck behind cars that go slowly? What is it like for you to choose to do things slowly? When do you rely on adrenaline or caffeine to get through a tough part of the day? I'll tell you, for me, it's about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon where I kind of go, I'm starting to nod off and I need either a nap or a pick-me-up. And I rely on caffeine to help me through that part of the day. What is it like for you to eat slowly rather than snarfing down your food? And the 6th question that Adele Calhoun asks is, how have deadlines, timelines, and bottom lines affected the pace of your life? This wise writer also offers some slowing down practices, ways to learn to slow down and pay more attention to God's presence right here in this moment. And here's a couple of the things that she encourages. She says, get enough rest. Are you sleeping enough at night? Second, she says, practice speaking more slowly. That's something that's hard for me. But when I do that, my words, I feel like they perhaps I weigh them more carefully. So practice speaking more slowly, thinking about what we're going to say before we say it. Look people in the eyes as they are talking with you. The eyes are the lamp of the soul. So look into people's eyes and pay attention to their eyes. Eat more slowly, paying attention to the taste and texture of the food you're eating. It was so sweet to sit around that campfire, and we had our long campfire roasting prongs, and we're enjoying cooking food over an open fire and slowly letting the evening unfold and the stars come out, the alpenglow come upon the mountains around us, and eating slowly, paying attention to the taste and texture. My brother lives in Italy, and the Italians are renowned for their slow eating. The 5th practice is to sit longer at the table, or if it's your case, as it was this past weekend, it was with us, around the campfire, to sit longer there. Don't rush off in 15 minutes, but to sit and have conversation, have time to think and ponder together. The 6th is to plan buffer time between meetings. We have meetings that have set schedules, but in between, to put a buffer around a space where there's less doing and more just place to be, to slow down in the spaces in between those meetings where there's schedules, and to have unscheduled time in between where you can rest and catch your breath. And the final one that I added in here, number 7, is to take more pauses in your day. Time to sit still, time to go out and smell the sea air coming through the trees off the ocean, time to collect yourself and to rest briefly, time to take a short nap, time to take a few long breaths, time to just offer up a short prayers of thanks, saying, "Thank you, God, for teaching me to live well." I hope this has been helpful. May God bless you. Bye bye.